Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch.
White men can't jump.
jump.
Hey, y'all. Hey. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to Sisters Who Watch.
I'm Shelby.
And I'm Laura. And we're sisters who watch everything. TV, movies, sports, concerts, and even rappers trying to act.
That's right. Emphasis on try.
Yes, try. We love to watch, and we love talking about it even more. Today we're watching
White Men Can't Jump. The 2023 remake of the 1992 classic.
Yes. The remake featuring none other than Jack Harlow.
The star, Jack Harlow, who just happens to be everywhere. He's courtside at NBA games, he's at the Kentucky Derby. I mean, we talk about someone that's everywhere.
The talk of the town, Jack Harlow. Wild. Okay, so like we said, it's a remake. I know that you've seen the original.
Yes, and you haven't, right? You never saw it?
No.
Laura, you gotta get on watching.
It's a classic.
Movies.
I gotta watch
get it together. So yes, I saw the original movie, White Man Can't Jump. It came out in 1994, written and directed by Ron Shelton. It is a really fun movie. I would say, I talked to Jason about this, our brother. It's kind of a vibe movie. A lot of movies, I feel like in the 80s and 90s, was about vibes and energy, and it's set in LA, street basketball, had a really great cast. Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson, Rosie Perez, all kind of like the beginnings or prime of their careers. So it was fun. Like, I liked it. And I love a comedy. We need more laughter. So it was cool. I watched it maybe like 5 years ago or so. So it was cool to watch. But I don't know if it needed to be redone. Were we asking for a remake?
I mean, we've talked about this. Hollywood just loves to make remakes these days. Every movie is a remake or a sequel.
Where are the original ideas?
Very, very few. Original movies. It's crazy.
You need to see it.
Yeah, I know. Writers, come back from the strike. Writers.
We need you. Original ideas.
I know, we need them back. It's wild. We have another reboot. But I mean, especially who's asking for this? And I mean, with Jack Harlow, so random.
Yeah.
And I mean, what did you know about Jack Harlow before this movie?
That he was this white rapper.
Yeah.
Who has a song about Tyler Hero and was hanging out with Drake at the Kentucky Derby.
I mean, that's all you need to know.
I kid you not. I think the first time I heard one of his songs was when he performed at SNL a few years ago. And I think that's how our mom discovered him. Like, I didn't really know who he was, and now I feel like he's everywhere.
Yeah,
I mean,
really
I don't listen. Oh, and what else? He redid it. He sampled a song by Fergie.
Yeah,
right?
Glamorous.
Yeah, he sampled a Fergie song. That's what else I know.
Yeah, similar to you, my knowledge of Jack Harlow is very little. I don't know much about him at all. I just know that people really liked him, and he was blowing up. And I remember the first song I heard by him is called "What's Poppin'." I don't even really know how it goes. I just know he goes like, "What's poppin'," and like that's it. I know. I've heard that song. The song it's called First Class, the one that samples Fergie's song.
Yes.
That song was so popular like a couple years ago. I never understood why, because it's just the song by Fergie.
It's literally glamorous.
Yes. GLAM. It's just like I don't know. I don't know why that song's so popular. And he also is in the Lil Nas X song Industry Baby. And I like that song. And I feel like Jack Harlow is very misplaced in that song. So my impression of him is not that good. I just know that
you're not a fan.
I don't actively dislike him. I just don't understand the hype. Right? Can you agree with that?
I think that's fair. I honestly don't really have an opinion.
Yeah.
I don't care enough to have an opinion.
Fair.
But it is interesting that he's everywhere.
Right. And how he's I don't even Right. And I don't even think he's acted. And now he's the star of this movie.
Crazy.
So bizarre.
Talk about a rise. And he's
I
like 24
know.
years old or something. He's so young.
Yeah, he's really young. And I mean, to be the star of a Kenya Barris produced film, as well as Blake Griffin, I mean, that's huge.
Who knew NBA star Blake Griffin is not producing movies? Good for him.
I know. It really is
I'd
crazy.
say that's clearly a trend. All these NBA players or athletes trying to get into entertainment. I feel like LeBron kind of paved the way, and Steph
Oh,
Curry's
yeah.
doing it. Kevin Durant's trying to do it. So add Blake Griffin to the mix.
I know. Look at him. He had a little cameo in the movie and everything. Good for him. I mean, I don't know like who's watching this movie, but like
Yeah, because 20th Century Studios made it but released it on Hulu. And Hulu
mm,
doesn't release numbers, so I to your point, we have no idea how people have watched it, how it's doing. But at least in LA, I feel like they've been promoting it a lot. Like they've
okay.
been doing um a lot of sponsored events I've seen, particularly in Black communities. So like there's this
Okay.
organization called Walk Good LA that does a lot of like wellness and health events for Black people. And they had their yoga in the park on Sunday mornings, Breathe Good, twice sponsored by White Men Can't Jump, where they gave out
Oh.
like White Men Can't Jump yoga mats. I had conflicts, so I couldn't go.
I
But
was like, that's a nice
clearly, I
gift. Yeah.
know, clearly White Men Can Jump has been trying, at least in LA,
Okay.
be known in the Black community, which makes sense.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I have not noticed anything in the Bay Area. Um
Shocker.
Shocker. I feel like it's a very LA movie and like,
Yeah.
LA, Hollywood. So that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Agreed.
And yeah, okay, so tell me about Lance Reddick and like a little bit of that background.
Yeah. So Lance Reddick plays Benji, Kamal's dad. And I was
Mm-hmm.
shook because you see him in the opening scene of the movie. And you can,
Mm.
and for those of you that don't know, Lance Reddick actually recently passed away. So,
Oh.
yeah, so it was crazy and surreal to see him in the opening scene. And then, spoiler alert, find out that
Oh.
he like dies in the movie. So it was a
Oh
little
wow. Yeah,
like
that's wild.
triggering and wild. But yeah, he died a few months ago. He
Wow.
was known for John Wick and The Wire, and he literally died right before the John Wick 4 premiere, where he was supposed to be with the
Mm.
castmates. So at the premiere, they all were like wearing ribbons in his honor and like talking
Wow.
about him. So it was surreal to see him after he so recently passed away. But I thought he
Wow.
did a really good job in the movie, and
Yeah,
I
he
hope
did.
yeah, I hope everyone can remember how great an actor he
Oh.
was.
Yeah, well, yeah, he like you said, he had a very good role.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like you said, paralleled, yeah, his
Yeah,
death as
like
well, which is
really, yeah,
very
very, very
eerie, but
crazy.
yeah, he was great. So we kind of
Mm-hmm.
touched upon like our expectations, with Jack Harlow and stuff, but like what else were you expecting from this movie? Like you had seen the first one, I had not seen the first one. Like how were you feeling coming in?
I was curious what their take would be. I feel like with
Mm-hmm.
reboots, you either stay very true to the movie or you take like a completely different spin or you're somewhere in
Yeah,
the middle. So I was curious how they would make the 2023 version of White Men Can't Jump. So
right.
I would say I was curious going into it. I also was excited to see Sinqua Walls in the
Yeah.
co-leading role. I've been a fan since his Power days. He
Power,
played,
yes.
yes, throwback. He played 50 Cent's son in Power. Great role.
Crazy.
And he also was in a rom com that was on Netflix called Resort to Love. And he
Oh,
was so good in that. And that's when I knew, I'm like, oh, he can be like a leading man, a
the next,
heartthrob.
yeah.
I was feeling it. So I love to see that he's on the
Mm,
rise
we
and
love
that
to see it.
that he's getting this kind of leading turn. It's huge.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty big role, so good for
Mm-hmm.
him. And yes, similarly, I know him from Power because I remember Shelby was like, you have to watch Power.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah,
so good.
right.
And he had like a very central character on that show
For a
for
few
the
seasons.
first few seasons. And then he
Yeah.
had the craziest ending. I mean,
Yeah. We
that
won't
was
spoil
wild.
that. We won't spoil that.
Um,
But
but he looks so different now. He's like matured,
he
he's
glowed
glowed
up.
up. Yeah,
He
he looks
glowed
really
up.
good. The
Yes.
facial hair, his
Mm, looks
haircut,
great.
yeah, he looks really good now.
Yes.
So we love to see it.
Love to see it. Love to see it.
And I mean, starring across Jack Harlow, who's like one of the biggest names in music. Also, because we know that Wallace was like tall. I mean, did you know that Jack Harlow was 6'3"?
What?
Yes. Because in the movie, he was like staring eye to eye. So I was like very confused. I was like, what?
Wow. Is that why
Yes.
there's hype? Do people
Yes.
like, wow,
The
this
girls,
tall white rapper?
I know a lot of the girls
That
like
might
Jack
be it.
Harlow and think he's like really hot and very attractive.
Wow.
I don't see it, but I think after watching this movie, I'm like, okay, I can kind of see like he's very tall, like he has a lot of swag, you know.
He
But
does.
yeah, I remember we saw him perform at the BET Awards. Remember that? Do you remember that?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And it's coming back to me now. He
So
loves Black culture, doesn't
yes,
he? He
yes.
does.
So even like not just the white girls, but like all the girls are into Jack Harlow.
Everyone's into
So
Jack
yeah,
Harlow.
I think the height definitely
it's a bonus.
It's a factor. It's a factor. Definitely. And I know we both love Tiana Taylor, so we're excited to see her.
Her budding acting career just keeps growing. She's having a moment.
She's
really having a moment. Love to see it.
And Shelby and I both are fans of The Masked Singer. And Tiana Taylor actually won a couple seasons ago.
Kind of fans.
Yeah, not like our number one show, but we do watch. But yeah, Tiana Taylor won a couple seasons ago. So I think that started it, you know.
Sure, give credit to The Masked Singer, Laura.
Yeah, that started the Renaissance. But I know yeah, we're gonna be talking about 1001 soon.
Yes, which not gonna give too much away, but I think one of the best performances of Tiana's career.
Yeah, so we'll get into that soon. But yeah, so I was excited to see her in this film too. Yeah, so like we talked about, very buzzy cast, like lots of cool, fun names in this film. Okay, so let's get into like the themes of this movie. I mean,
as always, we gotta talk about themes.
Yeah, so money is a huge factor, huge theme in this movie that affects all the characters, and that's kind of how, like, it's the crux of the premise. Yeah, it brings them together.
Driving force, for sure. I mean, it's interesting. They both, I would say, are at the lower spectrum of socioeconomic status.
Yeah.
Jack Harlow's character, why am I forgetting his name? But
Jeremy,
thank you. We can just say Jack. No, Jeremy is on like EBT cards and hustling with his like supplements business or meal plan business or diet
some like
business.
Wellness coaching. It's unclear what he does.
Making smoothies. Yeah, he's hustling, doing that. But hoping that his knees will heal so he can be a professional basketball player again.
Yes, chasing the dream.
The dream. And then Kamal, Sinqua Walls' character, is working a job he doesn't like. But they're both driving really nice cars. So it's interesting.
I know, and like spending like, yeah, I like to get into these like basketball tournaments, they have to spend like thousands of dollars. I thought that was wild. It's like, oh, you win 50,000, but you have to put down like $1,000 to get in to just to compete. Crazy. And I'm like, the odds of you actually winning this money are just like so slim, right? Yeah. So yeah, you know, a little questionable decisions here and there, as always with our main characters. But yeah, that's money is what brings our two protagonists together, because Jack Harlow struggling paycheck to paycheck, you know, isn't he living in his parents' house? Yes, he's living in his yeah, he was living in his parents' house. Yikes. And yeah, struggling to make ends meet. So he hustles people for money, like playing pickup one-on-one, gets in people's heads, especially as, you know, the white boy who plays basketball, like all the black guys are like, this guy can't shoot, this guy can't play. So he like, you know, leans into that and makes a lot of money out of it. And Sinqua Wallace's character does the same thing, Kamal. And he, you know, plays people, pick up, and gets money and hustles them. So both of them, they're
Brings
doing
them
that
together.
together.
Yes.
And Sinqua and Jack Harlow, they compete against each other, and Jack Harlow wins. So, and Kamala's like, who's this white boy? And how did he just hustle me?
Literally.
Literally. So they're enemies. It's like an
Yeah,
enemies to friends story.
enemies to friends. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Which, hey, classic trope.
Classic.
And I think it was interesting because they were very similar, right? They're both working jobs they don't really like, both trying to have side hustles on the side, both trying to cultivate their love of basketball. And even though one was white, one's black, they're both in different places in their lives, they had the same
Yeah.
kind of drive.
Right. They're very
And
similar.
so even though they had all these differences, they came together because like, oh, wait, we both want to play basketball and get some money. We've come
There you
around.
go. Yeah, exactly. And kind of like what you said, another big theme is the past. It seems like
Yes.
both Kamal and Jeremy are, chasing their youth. You know, Jeremy, he tore up his knees playing basketball. He was a college athlete. And he is like, he lies to his girlfriend about playing basketball because he's like, oh, I want to go back in. I want to do the G League, all this stuff. And you're like, bro, I don't think this is very realistic. And Kamal has the same passion and goal to start playing again. And
he was a really great high school
player,
but then with some I guess you could just say like, yeah, I was gonna say off the court issues. Like he had an altercation with some fans, and his dad's health was turning, which he then kind of took out on the situation, and just his trajectory fell. It was really sad.
I know. Yeah, he was destined to be this huge star in the NBA, and then he let his anger and his family issues get in the way of that. So that was really tough. So they're both trying to go back to the glory days and all of that. So that's very common among those two. And of course, race, is a big theme in this.
Big theme in the original movie as well.
Yes. And of course, it's in the title. So it's a lot about Black and white relations. So actually like men in sports and how they have this like competitive drive against each other. And Jeremy, Jack Harlow's character, really uses his whiteness to his advantage, as usual. And and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna, antagonize and, kind of talk trash to these black guys and get in their head, and hustle them to their advantage. So it works for Jeremy in the beginning, and it also helps him and Kamal make more money and go far in the tournaments in the end, because a lot of people underestimate him.
Literally. So
yeah. Crazy. And there was so many like funny, cute little references, like white on white crime when Jeremy and the other white trainer go one-on-one and have beef.
Yes.
That was
Jeremy gets mad because the other white basketball trainer played at Duke and was really good, and it's like, why are you here? And they it's like Jeremy wants to be the only good white guy.
Exactly. He was like, there's another one.
Someone else.
He's taking my gig. Yeah, exactly. And Jeremy would say some of the cringiest stuff about race. Like he was kind of made to be like this weird, like hippie kind of woke figure. Yeah. And he like one of the a funny moment I remember, he called Kamal like chocolate. I don't know if you remember that. But he was like, oh, you're like chocolate. Like most black people are milk chocolate these days.
I can't.
He said that. I was like, what is going on?
Maybe just like didn't resonate.
Went over your head.
It went over my head. It was like,
yeah, but he would like try and explain like race relations. It was wild. It was kind of giving cringy. Like, yes, it was very cringy. Some of it I was like, is this funny or is this just like weird and cringy? It was kind of giving like Jeremy from not Jeremy.
Don't say
Jacob from Abbott Elementary.
Laura, don't even compare them. Jacob from Abbott Elementary is such
obviously
a sweetie.
Jacob is a lot better, but
that's so mean.
But both of them are like,
I disagree.
Like, white people
I
and
disagree.
this and that and race relations in America. Like both of them had tangents like that. So
Jacob is
obviously,
so nice.
yeah, Jeremy is way worse than Jacob, but like I saw those parallels for sure.
Yikes.
So yeah, race was obviously huge. And as we mentioned, like whiteness and woke culture, Jeremy,
Hmm.
this big hippie who sells supplements, you know.
He would like meditate in the middle of the basketball court. Like he'd stop a game. They're like, what is he doing? He's meditating.
I
He
can't.
talked about going to therapy, which like some of this, right? There's nothing wrong with it. It's probably good, right? He's doing
Mhm.
therapy and he's like meditating and he's a vegan and all this stuff. But other moments, I was like,
Yeah.
dude, relax. This
It's
is,
definitely poking fun at like woke white people
yeah, it was a
culture.
little
Like,
over the top. But I guess that was
yes,
the point. I
that
guess that
was
was
the
the point.
point. Yeah, it felt like a little bit too on the nose. It's like, okay, we get it. He's like a hippie white dude,
Literally
you
way too
know?
on the nose. They like Googled tropes for hip white people, and it was like, oh, they meditate,
Every
they go
single
to
one.
therapy, they
He's a
are vegans,
vegan.
they wear
Yeah.
Birkenstocks, they take drugs. Oh my gosh!
He was like,
Like
oh yeah,
literally,
like my body's a temple. But I remember Kamal is like, but why are you like taking pills all the time? It's like
literally, literally, Laura, such a
literally,
mess.
yeah, it was wild. Yeah. So we talked about some funny quotes and wild tropes in this film. What were like some of your favorite moments from the movie?
Yeah, at towards the end when Jeremy decides, like Jeremy and Kamal have a falling out, and then
Mm,
um Kamal decides to like enter the basketball competition with his friends instead. They
right.
pull up to the competition and Jeremy's outside waiting, and he's literally like sitting outside of his car playing Shape of You by Ed Sheeran, like blasting
Uh,
outside of his car. I could not. I
I
was so
can't.
funny. I was
That
like, of
was
all the
funny.
song choices, first of all, the music budgets for this movie must have been insane because
I
they had
know.
so many popular songs and the
I
soundtrack
agree.
was fire. So I would say the music in general I was here for, but I'm like, bro, they must have spent a whole lot of money on music for this movie.
Yeah, I agree. I also really like that moment when he was just sitting at his car playing Ed Sheeran. And when I remember Jack Harlow was like, "Oh, come on, like what kind of music do you like? Like you have to listen to other stuff besides rap, something like that." Oh, there he was like, "Oh, there has to be like some one white guy like that you like, one white person that you like,
Yeah.
I think." He was like, "Oh, the redhead guy who's like ugly," like something like that. Like he said something like that. It's like, yeah, the redhead, the British guy. Um, and he was like, Ed Sheeran, like, is that who you're talking
I'm
about?
screaming.
Um, and that's very like I feel like Ed Sheeran is someone that like, you know, such a peak white culture. Like I feel like every
Peak.
like I feel like so many people like him. Like I remember
Taylor
in high
Swift might beat
school,
him, but
yes, Taylor Swift. I mean, Taylor Swift and Ed Sheeran are like best friends, so it's like
the
basically
same
the same
difference.
thing. Yeah, same thing. But like I remember in high school, like every single girl like was obsessed with Ed Sheeran, and I think he's just like represents,
Crazy.
yeah, like he's the bar. He's the bar. So it's funny that Ed Sheeran brought them together.
Hilarious. Well, I told
Yeah,
you, like, what's that Ed Sheeran song that shivers? And like Ed
I
Sheeran
that's
like
good.
has a few bops.
I
I'll admit it.
know. And our
I'll admit
mom likes Shape of You, the same song that Kamal likes.
it.
And I mean that's also the song that Candy gets
So
credits
I
on. Candy
yeah, so I
Burris,
do feel
yes.
like Ed Sheeran has some songs with soul, and then he has
Oh,
others
for
like
sure.
that are so like white rock. I'm like this. So he has a
Yeah,
range, but the
he
kind of more
does.
soulful stuff I enjoy. So I could
Yeah,
understand why that would bring Kamal and Jeremy
I agree.
together. Another moment I liked is at the end, the Tyler Hero cameo. I thought that was funny. He
Yeah,
was
that
like
was.
especially since of course Jack Harlow has a song about him, so I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But what about you? What were your favorite parts?
I know that Lorenzo, who was like Kamal's friend, he was just such a clown the whole time. He was so
So
funny.
funny.
He was just making the best jokes. He called people the craziest names. Like he called Kamal Mailman the Stallion. Because he delivers mail and packages. I just thought that was so funny. I like
They have
wrote
good
that down.
one-liners. You're
Mail
right.
and the Stallion. He called Jack Harlow a Sierra Miss Can because of his outfit. Like he just had so many really, really funny lines. So anytime Lorenzo, his
He
friend, was
was
on
on
screen,
screen.
like I
It
was
was
here for it.
great.
I was here for it.
It's great.
Yeah. What were
And
some parts that were not great for you?
yeah. Um, I didn't. We already touched on this, but all of Jack Harlow's kind of corny race jokes. I was like,
It
stop.
was a lot.
Like all of that, I didn't like.
It was over the top. I agree.
I
Like
didn't
we
like
said,
that.
he was like a caricature of like a white
Yeah.
person living in LA who likes black people. You know, it's too much.
Literally.
It was too much. And he was
It
like
was a lot.
mansplaining what like race was, like it was too much. Like I just it was
Yeah, he
too
was a
on the
lot.
nose. And I remember towards the end, like they did Kamal, I almost said Jamal, combining Jeremy and Kamal. Oh,
Laura. Oof.
it's fine. But yeah, I think they learned a lot from each other, which was
Hmm.
great. And like clearly he and Kamal has some serious anger issues. Like clearly. Like he got into multiple fights during the film. It's like, bro, like you need to relax.
Oh, you're
So
right. I like honestly kind of forgot,
I
but yeah, he did.
know. And I was just like, bro, like this is too much. And towards the end, like Jack Harlow talked about how he did therapy and stuff. And then when Jack Harlow got kicked out for like punching the dude, he was like, you don't need therapy. Basketball is your therapy. And I was like, is that the takeaway from the
Like
movie?
actually, Kamal probably does
He
need therapy.
definitely does need therapy.
Talk through his anger
Bad
issues.
advice.
Help
He
him get
needs
over the past.
therapy. Yeah, he needs to move on from his past. He clearly has anger issues. That is not the
Jeremy.
takeaway of the film. Basketball is not therapy.
It's like they just wanted like a good line, and like
Right.
that's the
I'm
line,
like,
but
that's not the
that's not the
takeaway.
message though. That shouldn't be the
No. I
message.
thought that was so strange. I was like, what? So I thought that was really weird. I was like,
Yeah.
it was like one of the final scenes of the movie. I was like, what? I did not get that. Yeah, but okay, so who did you love to
I
hate
feel like we're
in
piling
this
on
movie?
Jeremy, but it's Jeremy.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
his character, we said it, over the top, a little
Very
too
over
on
the
the
top.
nose of the white hippie woke guy.
Yeah.
But it's not like I didn't like his character. That's why he's the love to hate.
Yeah,
No,
he
like
wasn't
he
unlikable.
was funny and he was light and it was like I think he did a good job for someone who's an act. I thought he did a good job.
I agree. I agree. He
So
towed the line of like, kind of campy and corny, but also
yeah.
still being likable. So
And
I
I
agree.
liked
He
his
did the job.
relationship with his girlfriend, Laura Harrier. Like she's
Yeah.
stunning and
Oh,
I liked how they played off each other. So we've said a lot about him, but I think considering he did a good job.
I totally agree. Yeah, he's definitely my love to hate as well. Likable character, annoying, but entertaining
I
for
mean,
sure.
it fits the bill for a lot. I mean, it fits the bill for a lot of these protagonists. They kind of have
Yes,
to be annoying. So
definitely. And who was your hate to hate in this movie?
I felt like there were a couple of annoying antagonists.
Hmm.
Like Philip, we talked about briefly.
The
He was the
white
white
nemesis, yeah.
nemesis of Jack Harlow who went to Duke. Of course, he went to Duke.
Of
Classic.
course, classic.
So yeah, I thought he was annoying. I
I
also thought
agree.
Jermaine, who is one of the other kind of mean basketball
Yeah,
players that
yeah.
gets in a fight with Kamal and Jeremy at the end. Like
Mm,
I was like, dude, relax. Like, why are
yeah,
you just trying to start stuff?
I
But like
agree.
it, and they were very much side characters. But besides them, I didn't really hate anyone.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they had their little side character antagonist role and they played it well, fit the bill. So I agree. That
Right?
definitely
Yeah.
works.
What about
Okay.
your love to love?
Love to Love. As we mentioned, Lorenzo, Kamal's friend, highlight of the film. He was so funny.
He
I
was
need to
good.
know who that actor is. He was
Yeah, I hadn't seen him
hilarious.
before.
Yeah, he had great
He was good.
one-liners. He was so funny. Oh, and the Cheeto fingers he had when he was introducing himself to Jack
And he's
Harlow's
like, don't mind
girlfriend.
this. At the barbecue. Yes, he did that at the barbecue.
That
It's
was
like, dude,
so funny. And he like
relax.
wiggled his fingers really, really in a really funny way.
Kind of like Salt
And
Bay.
yeah. Yeah, Lorenzo was so funny. He also called Jack Harlow a pilgrim. I thought because I remember Jack Harlow talking about the white wokeness. He was
This.
talking
I'm glad
about,
that you
I know, I was
remembered all
taking
these
notes.
nuggets.
I was taking, because
Wow.
there were
I'm
so many funny one-liners
screaming.
from him. I was like, I gotta write these down. Because Jack Harlow was talking about like gentrifying, because he didn't realize he was actually gentrifying. Very, very accurate for, you know,
Classic.
a lot of these, yeah, people like Jack Harlow. But he was like, oh yeah, like me and my buddies, like, this is such a great area. Maybe we'll have to move out here and it's not that expensive. Like, this seems like a great up and coming neighborhood.
I'm screaming.
And then Lorenzo was like, why is this pilgrim here? Get him
I
out of here.
can't.
Like
I
he
can't.
literally just defined gentrification. So I thought
That's
that was
hilarious.
very funny. Yeah, he just had some really good
You're
one-liners for
right. He
me.
had, and he would always make fun of Vince Staples' character and
Yeah.
his taste in women. I was like, I can't.
Great. I loved it.
Great scene.
And as we talked about, we also just loved Benji the dad. He was just such a good
Yeah,
father figure.
I know. Supportive father figure. We love to see it. And of course, it was great to see Lance Reddick
I
in a
know.
role.
Yeah. I know. Good to see him on screen again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we went through the movie, our thoughts.
Yes.
Okay, how did you feel once it was over? What were your
Yeah.
how did you feel about it?
Overall, I felt it was a cute, corny movie. Like,
Yeah.
I'm glad I watched it at home. I feel like if I'd gone to the theater, I might have been like,
Yeah, I
not worth the
agree.
ticket. It was a good Hulu movie.
Yeah,
It was light, nice. It was like a fun watch.
I agree. It's what I mean, obviously I didn't watch the first one, so I don't know if that was
Mm-hmm.
also like it's like fun like movie comedy to watch, but I
It
think
had a bit more meat to it. It was a bit more
yeah.
like dramedy, like a
Okay,
bit
that's
more
what I thought.
thriller dramedy in the first one. Yeah,
Okay, that's what I thought. But yeah, but this was just like a fun light comedy. So if you're
yeah.
just looking for something light to watch, I think this is a
Mm-hmm.
great movie to do that. And it has, you know, the classic sports movie tropes and the underdogs, and they have
Yes.
losses, and then they win big in the end, and it's like, oh, and then you so it checks all
Yeah.
those boxes.
Agreed. It had an
Right.
uplifting ending. Kamal and the team end up winning the challenge. Tiana Taylor's able to open her beauty salon that she's always
Yeah.
wanted to. And then Kamal gets to the G League and then to be a member of the Lakers. I mean, picture
Amazing.
perfect ending.
I know. And Jack Harlow is coaching and being supportive of his
Yeah.
friend. And yeah, so the ending was it
We
wrapped
love a
up
happy
everything
ending.
nicely. Yes, yes. It was a good, uplifting, cute movie to watch.
Yes.
And after, you know, evaluating Jack Harlow's performance, does he have a career in acting? What do
He
you think?
could. I think he could. But he honestly, it's tough because I'm like, was he just playing himself? Is that why it was like easy,
Convincing? Yeah, yeah.
convincing? So I'd be curious to see a different, role, different
Right.
range, or maybe he just leans into this, play the white woke guy every time,
Yeah.
play the white basketball
It
player.
worked.
That's his
It
lane.
worked.
It works.
Exactly. I agree. I think he did a good job, but like you
Yeah.
said, we'll see if he has range, if he can do other
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Yeah, but clearly a lot of musicians are turning to acting. So
Yes, he's following in Tian Taylor and Vince Staples' steps.
yeah, good for all of them.
Love it
Um,
for them.
so okay, on to our what to
What to
watch
watch
segment.
segment.
Sinqua Walls.
Yes.
As we talked about, he's blowing up, he's having his little
He's
renaissance, and he's
having
gonna
a
be
moment.
in The Blackening, a movie we talked about.
Yes, a movie I'm excited to see. Comes out Juneteenth weekend, and I'm excited for him. I feel like
Yeah.
this is the beginning of hopefully him getting a lot of leading roles. We need to see more Black men in
I
roles.
know. He's a good leading man. I'm excited to
Yes.
see him as well. Yes, and we're gonna get more Tiana Taylor.
Yes. I mean, talk about her having a great year. She's slated to be in James Samuel's new movie. James Samuel wrote and directed The How Do They Fall, which is one of my favorite movies from a few years ago. And his new
Yes.
movie is called The Book of Clarence. And that comes out
Hmm.
later this year. And Tiana Taylor's in it. So
Oh,
she's having a year.
she
She's
really
having a
is. She's
year.
crushing it. It started with The Masked Singer, I'm telling you.
I can't, Laura. Let's okay.
Again, well, we're so excited that Tiana, she's getting all these gigs. That's great.
Yes,
So happy for her. And as we talked about, Laura Harrier, who played the girlfriend of Jack Harlow, I mean, stunning model.
Stunning.
Kind of looks
Why
like
isn't
Zendaya.
she in more? We need her in
I know.
more.
And I looked her up after because I was like, who is this? Like, and she was in Spider-Man. She was in the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
I recognized her from that. So yeah, hopefully she's in more. Yeah.
Yes.
But overall, cute movie. It was
Cute
fun.
movie. It's on Hulu. Give it a watch.
Yeah, go check it out. Support Katie Barris.
Well,
thank you all.
Thank you
for
so
listening.
much for listening.
We appreciate the support. Yes. Go follow us on Spotify. Subscribe. Go follow us on YouTube,
Apple
Instagram.
Podcasts.
Yes, Apple Podcasts. Go support us on Instagram at Sisters Who
Sisters Who
Watch. And you'll find all our links there. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate the support.
Everything.
Bye.